You know that moment right after sex when you're lying there, heart still racing, but something feels off, like you went through the motions, hit all the right notes, yet you still feel alone in the bed you share. You're not broken, you're just missing the secret most couples never talk about. Because here's the truth, no one tells you great sex doesn't come from better positions, longer stamina, or wilder fantasies. It comes from how you show up, not just with your body, but with your soul. Most women think intimacy fades because passion dies. But what if it's not passion that's gone, it's presence? What if the reason he seems distant isn't because he's lost interest, but because your connection has become physical without being personal? I'm not here to teach you tricks. I'm here to show you the 7 kinds of intimacy that make a man look at you like you're the only woman in the world. Even after 10 years, 2 kids, and 1,000 ordinary Tuesdays, these aren't about performance. They're about energy, about the way you breathe when you touch him, the silence you hold after he shares something raw, the laugh you let out in the middle of everything, because joy is just as sacred as desire. One of these types happens after a fight, when touch becomes forgiveness. Another lives in the quiet after climax, when staying still says more than words ever could. And one, so rare, so deep, you'll swear your hearts are beating as one. This isn't about being sexier. It's about being more you. So deeply, so unapologetically present that he doesn't just want you, he needs you. Not for your body, but for the way you make him feel like he's finally home. And the best part, you already have everything you need. No costumes, no scripts, no pretending. Just 7 shifts in how you connect starting tonight. Stick with me. Because by the end of this, you won't just understand these 7 types, you'll know exactly which one your relationship is craving right now. And that's where real intimacy begins. The quiet truth about real intimacy, it happens quietly. So quietly, you might not even notice it at first. You're lying in bed after sex. Your body feels satisfied, maybe even a little tired. But your heart, it feels hollow, like something essential is missing even though everything worked. You don't say anything. You don't want to seem ungrateful or difficult. After all, you had sex. Isn't that what couples are supposed to do? But deep down, you wonder, why don't I feel closer to him now than I did before? If this sounds familiar, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken and your relationship is not failing. What you're experiencing is not a loss of love. It's a natural evolution. In the early days, sex was electric. Every touch felt like a discovery. Your body spoke a language all their own, full of urgency and wonder. But as love matures, that language changes. It doesn't disappear, it deepens. The problem isn't that passion fades. The problem is that we keep expecting it to sound the same way it did at the beginning. Mature intimacy isn't about fireworks. It's about warmth, not performance, but presence, not climax, but connection. And that shift from physical release to emotional resonance is not a step backward. It's a step into something far more sustaining, because when love has history, sex becomes more than pleasure. It becomes a conversation, a way of saying, I still choose you. I still see you. I'm still here. You don't need more intensity. You need more meaning. And that begins the moment you stop asking, was that good? And start asking, did we meet each other in there? So if you've been feeling disconnected, even in the most intimate moments, don't blame yourself. Don't assume the spark is gone. It's just waiting for you to speak a new language, one that's quieter, slower, and infinitely more powerful. And that language, it starts with understanding this. Sex isn't just something you do anymore. It's something you create together with your attention, your tenderness, and your willingness to be fully there. The myth of great sex, let's be honest, most of what we've been taught about great sex is a lie. It's sold to us in movies as something dramatic, sweaty, loud, perfectly lit, ending in synchronized climax. On social media, it's implied through curated captions and suggestive photos. Even in conversations with friends, we measure ourselves against invisible standards: how often, how long, how wild. But here's the truth no one posts about. The most unforgettable moments of intimacy are often the quietest, the kind where you're not thinking about how you look or whether you're doing it right. The kind where time slows down, and all that exists is the weight of his hand on your hip, the sound of your shared breath, the way his eyes hold yours like you're the only person in the world. That's not boring, that's sacred. Yet, so many women carry quiet shame because their reality doesn't match the fantasy. They think, if it's not explosive, it's not enough. But real intimacy isn't measured in volume, it's measured in depth. A 10-minute session where you're fully present can leave a deeper imprint than an hour of distracted performance. A single kiss after a hard day, when you're both exhausted but choose to connect anyway, can rebuild more trust than a dozen perfect encounters. Great sex isn't about what happens between your legs, it's about what happens between your hearts. And that changes everything, because when you stop chasing intensity and start cultivating presence, you free yourself from comparison. You stop performing and start connecting. You realize that the goal isn't to be the best he's ever had, it's to be the one he feels most himself with. And that kind of intimacy, it doesn't need a soundtrack. It just needs you exactly as you are, right where you are. So let go of the myth. Your love doesn't need to look like anyone else's. It just needs to feel like yours. Intimacy is built, not found. There's a beautiful but dangerous idea many of us carry. If it's real love, it should just flow. We imagine that deep connection, the kind that feels like coming home, should happen naturally, effortlessly, like a river finding its course. And when it doesn't, we start to wonder, maybe we're not meant to be, maybe the magic is gone. But here's what no fairy tale tells you: intimacy isn't found. It's built not with grand gestures or perfect chemistry, but with small intentional choices made again and again. The couples who stay deeply connected aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who choose day after day to show up, not just with their bodies, but with their attention, their curiosity, and their willingness to grow together. Because real intimacy is a practice, like gardening, like music, like trust. It doesn't bloom because you wait for it. It grows because you tend to it. And that changes everything. It means you're not at the mercy of mood, timing, or chemistry. You have agency. You have tools. You have the power to shape your connection starting tonight. That's why I want to introduce you to something most people never consider. There isn't just one kind of intimacy. There are many. In fact, there are 7 distinct ways you can connect, each with its own energy, its own purpose, its own way of deepening your bond. These aren't techniques to memorize. They're emotional languages to explore. One lives in the quiet after a hard conversation, when touch becomes healing. Another thrives in playfulness, when laughter reawakens desire. One is so slow, so still, rewires your nervous system for trust. And the beautiful part, you don't need to master them all at once. You just need to recognize which one your relationship is craving right now, because deep intimacy isn't about doing more. It's about being present in a new way. So if you've been waiting for things to just get better, I invite you to try something different and stop waiting. Start creating, not with pressure, not with perfection, but with gentle intention. Over the next few minutes, I'll walk you through these 7 types, not as rules, but as invitations. Invitations to reconnect, to rediscover, and to remember why you chose each other in the first place. Because love doesn't fade when passion changes. It deepens when you know how to speak its many languages. And it all starts with this truth: you don't find intimacy, you build it together, one quiet, powerful choice at a time. Emotional sex, when vulnerability becomes desire. The night everything changed, it was one of those nights that starts in silence and ends in tears, but not the kind you expect. They just had their 3rd argument that week, not about anything huge, just the slow erosion of stress, missed cues, and unspoken needs piling up like unread messages. She'd gone to bed early, back turned, heart heavy with the kind of loneliness that only happens when you're lying next to someone you love. But then, just as she was drifting off, he reached out, not to fix it, not to explain, just to rest his hand on her shoulder, light hesitant, like he was asking permission. But she didn't turn around, but she didn't pull away, and in that stillness, something shifted. He whispered, "I'm sorry I've been distant," not as a defense, but as an offering. And she, after a long pause, said the thing she'd been too afraid to say all week: "I've been scared you don't see me anymore." No grand resolution, no perfect apology, just 2 people raw and tired, finally letting the armor crack. And then, without planning, without words, they turned toward each other. What followed wasn't passionate in the way movies show. There were no dramatic gasps or urgent movements. Instead, it was slow, tender, almost reverent. He kissed her forehead first, then her tears, then her lips, not to ignite, but to comfort. She touched his face like she was memorizing it, as if to say, "I still know you, even now." And in that quiet exchange, something deeper than pleasure moved between them. It was relief. It was reunion. It was the unspoken promise, "I'm still here." This is emotional sex, not sex after vulnerability. Sex as vulnerability. It doesn't happen because the mood is right or the lighting is perfect. It happens because two people finally let themselves be seen, fears, fatigue and all, and in that nakedness, not of body, but of heart, desire transforms into devotion. If you've ever made love after a hard conversation and felt closer than ever before, you already know this kind of intimacy. It doesn't leave you breathless. It leaves you whole. And that's the first type of sex that deepens a relationship, not because it's intense, but because it's true. Why tears turn into tenderness for so long? Many of us were taught that vulnerability is a liability, especially in love. That showing fear makes you needy. That crying makes you too much. That admitting you're hurt will push him away. So we armor up. We smile through the ache. We say, I'm fine, when we're anything but. But here's what science and real life reveals: vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the ultimate act of trust. And trust is the most magnetic force in intimacy. When you share something raw, fear, a regret, a longing, you're not just speaking words. You're handing him a piece of your inner world and saying, this is me. Handle it gently. And when he receives it without judgment, that's when something powerful happens in both your bodies. Your brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, not just during touch, but during moments of emotional safety. The same chemical that surges when a mother holds her newborn floods your system when you feel truly seen by your partner. And that oxytocin does something remarkable. It lowers defenses, slows the heart, opens the body to deeper connection. So those tears you're afraid will ruin the mood, they actually create the conditions for the most profound kind of intimacy. Because when he sees you cry, not from anger, but from honesty, he doesn't see weakness. He sees courage. He sees trust. He sees an invitation to step into your world and hold you there. And that kind of emotional nakedness, it's far more intoxicating than any performance. Men don't fall deeper in love because you're perfect. They fall deeper because you're real. So the next time you feel that flutter of fear, before sharing something tender, remember this: your openness isn't a risk, it's a gift. And it's often the very thing that draws him closer, not because he feels responsible for fixing you, but because he feels honored that you'd let him witness you. Emotional sex isn't about drama, it's about depth. It's the moment you stop protecting your heart and start sharing it, and discover that in doing so, you've given both of you permission to truly connect. Your tears aren't a turn off, they're a doorway. And on the other side is the kind of intimacy that doesn't just satisfy the body, but heals the soul. How to invite emotional sex without asking for it. You don't need to say, let's be vulnerable tonight. In fact, the most powerful invitations are never spoken at all. Emotional sex begins long before clothes come off. It starts in the way you hold space after a hard day, in the silence you allow after he shares something difficult, in the way you look at him, not to fix, but to witness. Here's how to create the conditions for this kind of intimacy without pressure, without scripts first. Lead with your eyes. Before you touch, look at him. Not a glance, a gaze soft, steady, present. Let your eyes say what your words might struggle to. I'm here. I see you. This single act signals safety more than any words could. Second, let your touch reassure, not arouse. Place your hand on his chest, his cheek, his arm, not to lead somewhere, but to say, you're not alone. Slow, grounding touch tells his nervous system it's safe to let go. Third, don't rush to fill silence. After a hard conversation or a moment of sharing, resist the urge to move on or lighten the mood. Let the quiet linger. That space is where connection deepens. Often, intimacy blooms in the pause, not the performance. And finally, let your own walls soften. Share one small truth you've been holding, a worry, a hope, a memory, not to burden him, but to invite him in. Vulnerability is contagious. When you go first, you give him permission to meet you there. Remember, emotional sex isn't scheduled. It's invited. It doesn't require perfect timing or grand confessions. It only requires presence and the courage to be human together. So tonight, instead of wondering how to get closer, try this. Just be there, fully, quietly, tenderly, because the deepest kind of sex doesn't begin with a kiss. It begins with a breath, a look, a moment of shared truth. And when that happens, you won't just make love, you'll come home to each other. Playful sex, the joy that keeps love alive. Remember when you used to laugh in bed. Close your eyes for just a moment. Think back to the early days, the ones before mortgages, before kids, before the weight of adulting settled into your bones. Remember how you used to laugh in bed, not just during, but around it. The way he'd tickle your side and you'd squeal. The silly nickname he whispered just to make you blush. The time you both got tangled in the sheets and ended up giggling like teenagers. Back then, intimacy wasn't a task, it was an adventure, a game, a shared secret that left you breathless, not just from pleasure but from joy. Now, it's often quiet, efficient, sometimes even silent. You go through the motions because you love him, because you know it matters, but somewhere along the way, the play disappeared. And you don't even know when it happened. Was it after the baby? After the promotion? After the 1000th time you both collapsed into bed too tired to do anything but sleep? Whatever it was, the lightness is gone. And with it, a part of your connection feels heavier. But here's the thing, playfulness isn't childish. It's essential, because when laughter leaves the bedroom, so does the sense that you're still friends, not just partners, not just co-parents, not just roommates with benefits. You're still the two people who once couldn't keep their hands off each other and couldn't stop making each other smile. So ask yourself gently, when did fun leave the room? And more importantly, what if you invited it back? Why playfulness is a love language. Many of us treat intimacy like a sacred duty, something to be approached with reverence, focus, and emotional weight. And while depth matters, there's a quiet danger in making it only serious. You start to forget that joy is also sacred. Playfulness isn't the opposite of deep connection. It's the doorway to it. Think about it. When was the last time you felt truly relaxed with your partner? Not calm, but light. When your shoulders dropped, your guard softened, and you felt like you could just be. Chances are it involved laughter. Because play does something powerful in the nervous system. It lowers cortisol, the stress hormone that keeps us tense, guarded, and disconnected. It signals safety. And when your body feels safe, it opens not just to pleasure, but to presence. That's why playful intimacy is so bonding. It's not about being sexy in the conventional sense. It's about signaling we're on the same team. We still know how to enjoy each other. And in a world that demands so much serious from us, especially from women, choosing play is a radical act of reconnection. It reminds you both this isn't just about meeting needs. It's about sharing joy. Men especially often carry the pressure to perform in intimacy. But when you bring lightness into the room, when you tease, giggle, or whisper something absurd, you give him permission to drop the act and just be with you. Their fun isn't frivolous, it's foundational. Because the couples who stay magnetically drawn to each other over decades aren't just the ones who weather storms together. They're the ones who still find reasons to laugh in the middle of the rain. So don't dismiss play as just for new couples. It's for all couples who want to keep their love alive, not just functional, but alive. Because joy isn't a distraction from intimacy. It's one of its purest forms, bringing play back. Without feeling silly, you don't need to plan a role play scene or buy costumes to bring playfulness back. In fact, the most powerful moments of levity are often the simplest and the most authentic. Start small, start quiet, start where you already are. Try this tonight. As you're getting ready for bed, catch his eye in the mirror and give him a slow, exaggerated wink. Not seductive, silly. Watch how his face softens. Or this while undressing. Put on a song you both loved years ago and sway for 3 seconds like you're in a music video. He'll probably laugh, and that laugh, that's the sound of walls coming down. Or even this, whisper something completely ridiculous in his ear mid-kiss, like, "I love your elbows," or "your hair smells like pizza." It's not about being clever. It's about breaking the spell of seriousness. The goal isn't to be funny. It's to remind each other we don't always have to be so heavy. And if you're worried he'll think you're weird, consider this: most men crave this lightness. They just don't know how to initiate it. They're waiting for you to give them permission to be playful again too. You can also use your eyes, a raised eyebrow, a mischievous grin, a look that says, "Remember when we used to," without saying a word. And if silence feels safer, let your touch speak. Tug his shirt playfully. Trace a silly shape on his chest. Nuzzle his neck like a cat. These aren't all moves. They're invitations to remember who you are together when no one's watching. Most importantly, don't aim for perfection. Aim for authenticity. If you feel a little awkward at first, that's okay. Awkwardness means you're trying something new. And that's brave. Because the moment you let yourself be a little silly with him, you're not just bringing back fun. You're reminding him and yourself that love doesn't have to be perfect to be joyful. And joy, that's the spark that keeps love alive long after the fire of new passion has settled into a steady, warm glow. So go ahead, smile first, laugh second. Let everything else follow. Slow sex, The art of being fully there, the rush that leaves you empty, you've been here before. The build-up starts maybe with a kiss, a lingering touch, a look that says, tonight. Your body responds. You move together with familiar rhythm. There's pleasure, yes, maybe even climax. And then it's over. You roll apart, pull the sheet up, check your phone, or just lie there staring at the ceiling, wondering why you feel so empty. You had sex. Everything worked. But you don't feel closer. You don't feel seen. You just feel done. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone and you're not broken. What you're experiencing is the quiet cost of rushed intimacy, the kind that treats sex like a task to complete, not a space to inhabit. In our fast-paced world, even love gets hurried. We bring the same energy to the bedroom that we bring to our to-do lists. Get it done, check the box, move on. So we skip the stillness, we rush the foreplay, we focus on the destination, climax, instead of the journey. And in doing so, we miss the very thing that transforms sex from physical release into emotional connection presence. Because here's the truth no one talks about. You can have technically great sex and still feel utterly alone. It's possible to touch every right spot and never actually meet. And that's the ache so many women carry. Not that they're not having sex, but that they're not connecting in it. You leave the encounter satisfied in body, but starved in soul. This isn't about your partner. It's not even about technique. It's about pace. When everything moves too fast, there's no room for breath, for eye contact, for the quiet hum of two nervous systems sensing. And without that slowness, intimacy becomes transactional, even if no one says a word. So the next time you feel that post-sex hollowness, don't ask, was it good enough? Ask, were we really there? Because great sex isn't measured in minutes or moans. It's measured in moments of true meeting. And those moments, they only happen when you slow down enough to let them in. What happens when you slow down if you're someone who thrives on productivity? If your mind is always racing ahead to the next task, the next worry, the next fix, then slowing down in intimacy might feel almost impossible. Your body might be in bed, but your thoughts are in tomorrow's meeting, or replaying an argument, or wondering if you're doing it right. And in that mental noise, connection slips away. But here's what changes everything. Slowing down isn't just romantic, it's biological. When you intentionally move slower, when you breathe together, when you hold eye contact, when you let silence stretch between touches, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system. That's the part of you that says, you're safe. You can rest. You're not in danger. And when that system lights up, something profound happens. Your body stops bracing. Your heart rate steadies. Your muscles soften. And in that physiological shift, true intimacy becomes possible because you're no longer performing, you're being. This is the secret of slow sex. It's not about dragging things out. It's about dropping in. When you move slowly, you're not just touching skin. You're sending a message deeper than words. I'm not here to get something from you. I'm here to be with you. And that message, it's the antidote to anxiety for both of you. Men especially carry invisible pressure to deliver in intimacy. But when you slow down, you take that pressure off, you create a space where he doesn't have to be on, he can just be. And for you, slowing down quiets the inner critic. No more wondering if your stomach looks flat or if you're moaning correctly. Just breath, touch, presence. Try this next time you're together. Pause before things escalate. Place your hand on his chest. Feel his heartbeat. Match your breath to his. Don't aim for arousal. Aim for attunement. You'll be surprised how quickly pleasure follows, not because you chased it, but because you created the conditions for it to arise naturally. Slow sex isn't boring. It's the opposite of boredom. It's the deep, quiet thrill of feeling completely known without having to say a word, and in a world that never stops moving. That kind of stillness, it's revolutionary. So give yourself permission to go slower than feels efficient. Let your touch linger. Let your gaze hold. Let your breath lead. Because when you slow down, you don't lose passion. You uncover something far more sustaining, a love that doesn't just happen to you, but grows breath by breath in the sacred space between you. The simple practice that changes everything. You don't need hours of meditation training or a candlelit retreat to bring slowness into your intimacy. You just need 5 minutes and the willingness to begin with your breath. Here's a simple, powerful practice you can try tonight. No experience required. No pressure to get it right. Step 1 and begin before you begin. Don't wait until clothes are off or hands are roaming. Start while you're still fully dressed, sitting or lying side by side. Turn toward each other. Let your knees or shoulders touch just enough to feel each other's presence. Step 2, close your eyes or soften your gaze. If eye contact feels too intense right now, that's okay. Look at his chest, his hands, or simply close your eyes. The goal isn't performance, it's presence. Step 30, breathe together. Take a slow inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Hold it gently for 2. Exhale through your mouth for 6. Now, invite him to match your rhythm, not with words, but by letting your breath lead. You might place a hand on his chest or belly so he can feel your pace. Don't worry if it feels awkward at first. Awkwardness means you're trying something real, and that's beautiful. Step 40, stay here for 5 minutes. No talking, no touching beyond what's already there. Just breathe. Let your nervous system sink like 2 rivers finding the same current. This isn't foreplay, it's preparation. Because true intimacy doesn't begin with touch, it begins with attunement. And in these 5 minutes, something quiet and profound happens. Your body stops bracing. His shoulders drop, the mental noise fades. And for the first time all day, you're both fully here. Step 5, let touch follow, not lead. After 5 minutes, if you choose to move into physical intimacy, let it arise naturally from this stillness. Don't rush. Let your hand rest on his arm before it moves lower. Let your kiss be soft, not urgent. And if you don't move into sex at all, that's okay too. Sometimes the deepest connection happens in the space before, in the shared breath, the quiet presence, unspoken, I'm with you. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What if he thinks it's weird? What if I can't quiet my mind? What if nothing happens? To that I say, start small. Try it once. If it feels strange, laugh about it. If it feels sacred, do it again. This isn't about creating a perfect moment. It's about creating a real one. And remember, don't aim for pleasure. Aim for presence. Pleasure follows, because when you're truly present, when your breath is calm, your body is soft, and your attention is fully on him, pleasure isn't something you chase. It's something that rises naturally, like warm from a fire you've tended with care. This practice works because it bypasses the pressure to perform and returns you to the essence of intimacy, two people choosing to be fully alive together in this breath, in this moment, in this quiet space between words. You don't need more time. You don't need more skill. You just need to slow down long enough to meet each other where you already are. So tonight, before anything else happens, before hands wander or hearts race, try this. Breathe together for 5 minutes and see what grows in the stillness. Adventurous sex, growing together, not apart adventure, isn't just for new couples. There's a quiet myth many long-term couples believe. We've already explored everything there is to explore. After years together, it's easy to fall into a rhythm so familiar it feels like a script. Same time, same place, same sequence of touch. You know what to expect, and so does he. And while that predictability can feel safe, it can also start to feel flat, like you're going through the motions of a story you've already read. You might catch yourself thinking, is this all there is? Have we lost our spark? Is it too late to feel that sense of wonder again? But here's the truth: adventure isn't about novelty. It's about curiosity, and curiosity has no expiration date. You don't need to reinvent your entire sex life to reignite that sense of discovery. You just need to ask one small question: what haven't we tried, not in technique, but in feeling? Because adventure and long-term love isn't about wild new positions or dramatic role play. It's about the quiet thrill of trying something new together. Even if it's as simple as making love in the morning for the first time, or lighting a candle you've never used, or whispering a fantasy you've never shared. It's about breaking the script, not to fix what's broken, but to remind yourselves we're still growing, we're still learning each other. Couples who stay magnetically connected over decades aren't the ones who never get bored. They're the ones who refuse to stop exploring, not just each other's bodies, but each other's hearts, desires, and evolving selves. And that kind of exploration doesn't require grand gestures. It only requires willingness. So if you've been feeling stuck, don't assume the magic is gone. Ask instead, what small door haven't we opened yet? Because the most powerful adventures in long-term love aren't found in faraway places. They're found in the uncharted territory of your shared presence, when you choose once again to be curious about the person you thought you knew completely. The difference between wild and curious: when you hear the word adventurous in the context of intimacy, your mind might jump to images you've seen online, scenes that feel performative, extreme, or completely outside your comfort zone. And if that makes you tense up, I want you to take a breath and hear this. Real adventure and intimacy has nothing to do with shock value. It has everything to do with curiosity. True adventurous sex isn't about pushing boundaries for the sake of intensity. It's about gently expanding the space between you so you can discover new ways to feel close, seen, and alive together. For some couples, that might mean trying a new toy. For others, it might mean something as simple as undressing in the light instead of the dark, or making love after breakfast instead of midnight, or holding eye contact the entire time. Adventure is deeply personal. It's not about what's wild by someone else's standards. It's about what feels new and meaningful to you too. So let's redefine what adventurous really means. It's asking, what's something you've always wanted to try but never said out loud? It's lighting a candle and playing music you've never used before, not because it's sexy, but because it shifts the mood. It's trying a different room in the house, not for novelty, but to break the autopilot of routine. It's whispering, tell me what you dream about, and really listening to the answer. None of these require costumes, scripts, or anything that doesn't feel like you. In fact, the most transformative moments of adventurous intimacy often happen in the quietest ways. The first time you let him see you fully in daylight. The night you say yes to something small you've always said no to, not out of pressure, but out of trust. The moment you both laugh nervously while trying something unfamiliar and realize that vulnerability is its own kind of thrill. This kind of adventure builds something powerful. Shared courage, because when you step into the unknown together, even if it's just a new way of touching or talking, you're not just exploring pleasure, you're building trust. You're saying, I'm willing to be a little uncomfortable with you because I trust us. And that trust, it deepens your bond far more than any extreme act ever could. So forget what Instagram or movies tell you adventure should look like. Your version might be soft, quiet, tender, and that's more than enough, because real adventure isn't about how far you go. It's about how deeply you're willing to explore side by side. How to explore without pressure. If the idea of trying something new makes your stomach flutter with anxiety, you're not alone. You might worry he'll say no, laugh, think you're strange, or worse, assume you're not satisfied with what you already have. But here's the secret: exploration doesn't have to be a big announcement. It can be a quiet invitation. So soft, it feels like a shared secret rather than a request. Start with conversation, but not the kind that puts pressure on either of you. Try this over coffee or during a walk. Ask a simple curiosity question. Is there something small you've always wondered what it would feel like to try? Not, do you want to try something new, which can feel like criticism, but I'm curious what lives in your imagination. Keep it light, keep it open-ended, and most importantly, share your own answer too. When you go first, you create safety. If talking feels too direct, try non-verbal invitations. Next time you're intimate, guide his hand somewhere it doesn't usually go, not with urgency, but with gentle curiosity. Change the setting. Make love in the bathroom with the shower running or on the couch under a blanket. The new environment alone can shift the energy without a single word. Try something as simple as maintaining eye contact during climax, not to perform but to connect. That one act can feel deeply adventurous and deeply bonding. And remember, it's not about the act, it's about doing it together. The magic isn't in the novelty itself. It's in the shared willingness to step into something unfamiliar side by side. If he seems hesitant, don't take it personally. Say gently, no pressure at all. I just love knowing what lives in your world. That removes performance and replaces it with intimacy. You can also start with atmosphere, not action. Light a new candle. Play a song you've never used before. Dim the lights earlier in the evening. These tiny shifts signal, let's be present in a new way without demanding anything specific. And if nothing happens, that's okay. Sometimes just opening the door is enough, because adventure and long-term love isn't about checking boxes. It's about keeping your connection alive through gentle curiosity. So begin small, begin kind, begin with trust. Ask one question, try one new thing, hold one gaze a little longer, and if it feels awkward, laugh together. Awkwardness shared is intimacy deepened. Because the goal isn't to become someone else's idea of adventurous. It's to keep discovering each other again and again as the people you continue to become. And that kind of exploration, it never gets old. Reconnecting sex, love after the storm, the silence after the fight. You know that silence, it's not peaceful, it's heavy. It settles in the room after an argument, not the explosive kind, but the slow, grinding kind that leaves no clear winner, only exhaustion. You're both in bed, backs turned, hearts aching, but neither of you knows how to bridge the space between you. You want to reach out, but you're afraid he'll pull away. Or worse, that he won't even notice you're gone. That silence isn't just absence of sound, it's the sound of love holding its breath. And in that moment, intimacy feels impossible. How can you be close when you feel so far apart? But here's what so many women don't realize. The silence after the storm isn't the end of connection. It's the threshold to a deeper one. Because real love isn't measured by how perfectly you avoid conflict. It's measured by how gently you find your way back. And sometimes that return begins with the smallest gesture, a hand resting lightly on his shoulder. Not to fix, not to apologize, just to say, I'm still here. You don't need words. You don't need grand declarations, just presence. Because touch in its purest form is a language older than speech. It says, I see your pain, I carry mine, but I choose us anyway. And when that first touch is met, not with resistance, but with a softening, a sigh, a turn towards you, something sacred begins to stir, not passion, not yet, but possibility. The possibility that you can be hurt and still choose each other, that you can be angry and still belong together. That love isn't the absence of conflict, but the courage to repair. This is where reconnecting sex begins, not in the heat of resolution, but in the quiet aftermath when two wounded hearts decide to meet in the middle. So if you're sitting in that silence tonight, don't mistake it for distance. It's just the space love needs to breathe before it reaches for you again. And when it does, let your hand be the first word. Why reconnecting sex isn't about making up. There's a dangerous habit many couples fall into, especially women who hate conflict, using sex to smooth things over before the real issue is resolved. You've been there. After a disagreement, you initiate intimacy, not because you feel close, but because you hope it will erase the tension. You think, if we just connect physically, maybe the emotional mess will disappear. But here's the truth. Sex used as a shortcut to peace often deepens the wound, because when you bypass the hard conversation and go straight to touch, you're not healing, you're hiding. True reconnecting sex doesn't happen instead of resolution. It happens after. It's not, let's have sex to fix this. It's, we fix this. No, let's come home to each other. The difference is everything. Transactional sex says, if I give you this, will you stop being upset? Healing sex says, we've seen each other at our worst and we're still choosing to be tender. One creates temporary relief. The other builds lasting trust. So before you reach for his body, ask yourself, have we truly spoken? Have we listened? Have we repaired? If not, give yourselves the gift of the hard conversation first. Say the hard thing. Here is truth. Let the tears fall if they need to, because only then, when the air is clear and the hearts are open, does intimacy become an act of reunion, not avoidance. Reconnecting sex is slow, soft, full of eye contact and lingering touches that say, I'm not just here for pleasure, I'm here because I missed you. It's not about erasing the past, it's about weaving a new thread of closeness over the tear. And that kind of intimacy, it doesn't just soothe the moment, it strengthens the entire fabric of your relationship. So don't rush to make up with your body before your hearts have made peace. True repair begins with honesty and ends with the quiet, powerful certainty that you can weather any storm as long as you find your way back to each other. The ritual of return after a rupture, whether it's a harsh word, a broken promise, or days of cold silence, the path back to each other can feel uncertain. You want to reconnect, but you're afraid of moving too fast or not fast enough. That's where a simple, intentional ritual can guide you, not with pressure, but with grace. This isn't about getting back to normal. It's about creating a new moment of closeness that honors what was broken and what you're choosing to rebuild. Here's a gentle sequence you can try step by step at your own pace. A step one team. Begin with words that heal. Before any touch, offer a sincere apology, not to fix, but to acknowledge. I'm sorry I spoke to you that way. You matter to me. Or simply, I missed you. Let your words clear the air. Let him respond. Let silence sit between you if it needs to. Step 20, start with hands, not bodies. Once the emotional space feels softer, reach for his hand, not to pull him closer, but to say, I'm ready to be near you again. Hold it. Squeeze it gently. Let your palms warm each other. This isn't foreplay, it's reconnection. Step 30, move to the face. If it feels right, place your hand on his cheek, look into his eyes. Let your thumb brush his skin like you're remembering him. Then lean in for a slow, soft kiss, not passionate, but peaceful. A kiss that says, we're okay. We're still a step 40. Let the next step be optional. From here, You may choose to go further or not. If your bodies call you deeper, let it unfold slowly without urgency. If not, simply rest together, lie side by side, let your legs tangle. Breathe in sync. The goal isn't sex, the goal is return. Because true reconnection isn't measured by whether you end up in each other's arms physically, but whether you both feel emotionally found. And sometimes the most powerful intimacy happens in the space before, in the hand hold, the forehead kiss, the quiet "I'm sorry" whispered in the dark. This ritual works because it respects the order of healing words first, touch second, pleasure only when safety returns. It gives both of you permission to move slowly to rebuild trust, not just with promises, but with presence. So if you've been waiting for the right time to come back to each other, start here, not with grand gestures, but with a hand, a breath, a look that says, I choose you, even after, because love isn't flawless, but it is repairable. And every time you find your way back to each other after a storm, you don't just restore what was lost, you build something stronger in its place. Let touch say what words already healed, and let your return be as tender as your love deserves. Spiritual sex. When two become one, that moment you felt like one person. Have you ever been making love and suddenly everything shifted? Not because of what you were doing, but because of what you felt. For a few breaths, the boundary between you disappeared. You weren't you and him anymore. You were something else, a single pulse, a shared breath, a quiet hum of energy that felt bigger than two bodies. Time slowed, thoughts stopped. And in that stillness, you didn't just feel close, you felt united. If you've had this experience, you're not imagining things, and you're not alone. This is spiritual sex, not in a religious sense, not in a performative way, but in the quiet, wordless truth that sometimes when two people are fully present with each other, something sacred opens between them. It's the moment you stop having sex and start being love. You might not have had language for it afterward. You might have brushed it off as just a feeling, but your body remembered, your soul recognized it. Because this kind of intimacy isn't about technique. It's about surrender. It happens when ego drops away, when you're not thinking about how you look, what he's feeling, or whether it's good enough. You're just there, fully, openly, together. And in that openness, something ancient stirs. The awareness that love is not just an emotion, it's a force, a field, a union. So if you've ever felt that quiet merging, if you've ever whispered, I don't know where I end and you begin, know this, you touch something real, something true, something worth honoring. Spirituality isn't religion, it's presence. If the word spiritual makes you pause, if it brings up images of incense, chanting, or beliefs that don't resonate with you, let me offer a different definition. Spiritual intimacy is simply presence without separation. It has nothing to do with dogma, rituals, or even belief. It has everything to do with attention. When you drop into your body, when you stop thinking about the past or planning the future, and simply feel the warmth of his skin, the rhythm of his breath, the quiet electricity between you, that's spirituality. It's not about doing anything special. It's about stopping the doing and just being. You don't need candles. You don't need mantras. You don't need to believe in chakras or energy fields, though you can if that speaks to you. All you need is stillness, because spiritual sex begins the moment you let go of the need to control, perform, or achieve, and instead allow yourself to receive the fullness of the moment. It's in the way your breath sinks without trying, in the way your heartbeats seem to echo each other, in the silence that feels more alive than words. This is energetic attunement, not as a mystical concept, but as a biological reality. Your nervous systems are communicating, your bodies are resonating, and in that resonance, a deeper kind of knowing arises. We belong to each other, and that belonging isn't possessive, it's peaceful. So if you're secular, skeptical, or simply unsure, don't worry. You don't have to believe in anything to experience this. You just have to be willing to be still enough to notice what's already happening, because the sacred isn't out there. It's right here in the space between your breaths, your touches, your shared silence, and it's available to you tonight, not through effort, but through presence. How to invite the sacred, as even if you're skeptical, if you're someone who trusts data more than dreams, here's a simple invitation. Don't believe in energy. Just notice what your body feels. Before or during intimacy, try this. Place your hand on his chest. Feel his heartbeat. Now place your other hand on your own. Notice how over time your rhythms begin to align, or focus on warmth, the heat that builds where your skin meets his. Not as a sign of arousal, but as a sign of connection, or simply close your eyes and breathe together for one full minute, no goal. no expectation, just shared air. That's it. You don't need to label it spiritual. You can call it biology, chemistry, or quiet synchronicity. But whatever you call it, the effect is the same. You feel more connected, more whole, more together. Another way during intimacy, instead of focusing on sensation alone, notice the space around the sensation. The stillness beneath the movement, the quiet beneath the sound. That's where the sacred lives, not in the drama, but in the depth. And if nothing happens, that's okay too. Sometimes just paying attention is enough to shift the quality of your connection. Because spirituality in intimacy isn't about achieving a transcendent state. It's about dropping into the truth of what's already here, two human beings choosing to be fully present with each other. So if you're skeptical, stay curious. If you're logical, stay observant. And if you're open, just for a moment, let yourself wonder, what if love is more than chemistry? You don't need to answer. Just feel, because your body already knows. Afterglow Sex, the love that lingers. Don't get up yet. What if the most important part of sex happens after it's over? We often think the moment of climax is the peak, that after that, everything fades. But in truth, that's when the real connection begins. Because right after pleasure comes stillness, and in that stillness, something sacred happens. Your nervous system synchronize, your heartbeats slow together, your bodies whisper a language words can't translate. Yet too many women, good women, loving women, miss this part completely. The moment it's over, they get up, they reach for tissues, they grab their phone, they say, "Be right back." They don't mean to disconnect. It's habit, it's comfort, it's self-consciousness. But here's the truth few talk about: when you pull away too soon, it tells his body something his mind can't name. She's gone. You might not notice it in the moment, but he does. The warmth fades, the air cools, the closeness you both built dissolves too quickly, and what could have become a deep emotional imprint becomes just another release. Afterglow is the bridge between physical pleasure and emotional intimacy. It's the invisible space where the body says, "I feel safe here." When you stay, when you breathe, when you let silence wrap around you, you're saying something powerful. I'm not just here for the climax. I'm here for the connection. So don't get up yet. Stay. Let him hold you. Let your skin cool together. Let the moment linger long enough for love to settle in. Because sometimes the sex isn't over. It's just beginning to mean something. Why Afterglow builds security? Let's talk about why this small moment, the afterglow, matters so much more than people realize. See, during climax, your body releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. But what's less known is that this release continues for hours after, especially through touch, warmth, and stillness. That's why the time after sex can actually determine how emotionally close you feel in the days that follow. When you linger in that softness, when his arm is around you, when your breathing slows together, your body interprets it as safety. It says, "I can relax, I can trust, I belong here." And for many women, especially those who felt anxious in love, that moment is healing, because intimacy used to mean fear of being used, fear of being left, fear of losing the connection as soon as it ends. But when he stays, when you stay, when there's no rush to move, no shift into distraction, your mind learns something new. I'm not being abandoned after closeness. I'm being held in it. Afterglow isn't about cuddling. It's about bonding. It's where desire transforms into security. It's where chemistry deepens into trust. Think of it like emotional exhale, the quiet confirmation that what just happened wasn't just physical, it was real. So the next time you find yourself tempted to reach for your phone or roll to your side, pause. Let the warmth linger. Let love do what it's meant to do, root itself in your nervous system, because that's how intimacy lasts longer than the night. The 10-minute rule that changes everything. Here's something simple, something powerful, something that might change not just your relationship, but how you experience connection forever. It's called the 10-minute rule. After sex, don't move for 10 minutes. No talking, no phones, no cleaning up, just skin, breath, and silence. Let his chest rise and fall under your cheek. Let your fingers rest in each other's hands. Let your bodies remember the warmth they just created. 10 minutes might sound small, but it's enough time for your brain to translate physical closeness into emotional memory. It's long enough for your body to understand this isn't a performance, it's love. Those 10 minutes are where you anchor connection. It's where your energy synchronizes, where you both stop doing and start being. You'll notice what happens next. Arguments feel softer, communication feels safer, and sex stops feeling like something you have to do and becomes something you get to feel. Try it tonight. Set no timer. Make no rule except this: don't leave the moment yet. Because love doesn't fade when the lights go out. It deepens when you choose to stay in the dark a little longer. Afterglow isn't just a pause, it's presence. It's not the end of intimacy. It's the deep breath that keeps it alive. Every time you stay, touch, breathe, and rest together, you teach both your bodies the same truth. We're safe here. We belong here. We don't have to rush love. And that's how sex stops being temporary and starts becoming sacred, creating love, not just having sex. You're not losing passion. You're gaining depth if you've been missing the electric spark of your early days. The late night texts, the breathless kisses, the feeling that the world disappeared when he walked into the room. I want you to hear this gently. You're not losing passion. You're gaining something far more sustaining depth. That early fire was beautiful, necessary, it drew you together. But fire, by its nature, burns bright and fast. What you're building now isn't meant to mimic that flame. It's meant to become a hearth, a steady, warm presence that doesn't dazzle, but holds. That doesn't fade after a few years, but grows richer with time. The intimacy you're capable of now, after shared struggles, quiet mornings, hard conversations, and ordinary Tuesdays, is deeper than anything new love could offer, because it's built on truth, not fantasy, on choice, not just chemistry. You don't need to recreate the past to feel close. You need to honor where you are now, because the love that lasts isn't the one that never changes. It's the one that evolves through emotional sex after tears, playful laughter in the dark, slow breaths in stillness, gentle repair after storms, and the quiet certainty that you're still choosing each other again and again. So stop comparing your today to your yesterday. Your love isn't fading, it's maturing. And a mature love, it doesn't just ignite, it endures. Your invitation to create, you don't need to master all 7 types of intimacy overnight. In fact, you don't need to master any of them at all. This isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about bringing more presence to what's already there. So here's your only assignment this week. Pick one. Maybe it's emotional sex, letting yourself be seen after a hard day. Maybe it's playful sex, whispering something silly just to make him smile. Maybe it's slow sex, breathing together for 5 minutes before anything else happens. Let that one type be your love language for the week. Not as a performance, but as a practice. Try it once. See how it feels. Notice what shifts, not just in him, but in you. Because intimacy isn't something you get right. It's something you tend to, like a garden, like a friendship, like a sacred trust. And the beautiful thing is, you already have everything you need. Your attention, your courage, your willingness to show up as you are. You don't need to be sexier, smoother, or more experienced. You just need to be there fully, gently, unapologetically. So choose one, try it softly, let it be imperfect, and trust that even the smallest shift in how you connect can ripple through your entire relationship, because love isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in quiet choices made again and again in the space between you. Great sex isn't loud. It doesn't need a soundtrack or a spotlight. It's the quiet certainty that you belong to each other, body, heart, and soul. It's the way he looks at you after you've shared your truth, the way your breath sinks in the dark, the way you both choose to come back again and again after life pulls you apart. You don't need to chase passion. You just need to create space for it to grow. And you already know how, so go gently, love deeply, and never deeply. The most powerful intimacy you'll ever offer is your truest self.